Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I would like to present to some and introduce to others someone that we will get to know real well, real soon. Mrs. Jeanette McGinn, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Nice to be here, Timothy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is a pleasure and an honor to actually be able to be here with you. I know we have a lot to talk about today, I really do. But I would like to first and foremost let you introduce yourself to USA and beyond and let everybody know exactly who you are, what you do, and just a snippet of what we're going to be talking about today right here on Hall TV2. Go right ahead, the mic is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeanette McGinn. I'm the co-founder and director of the nonprofit Newhall Fields Community Farm in Peabody. Here on a quarter acre of land, we're growing food for and with the community. We have access to 2 acres of land on the city-owned property of Tilley's Farm and Newhall Fields. We're growing food using regenerative organic agricultural practices with our farmer Hazel.
Newhall Farms is an exceptional place. I'm coming to know it, and as we get to know more about each other and the history and where you guys came from and how you came to be, I'm grateful and honored to be able to be here with you, Mrs. Jeanette. I can promise you that right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody else coming up here right now. And I really would like to introduce to some and present to others. Madam Hazel Kiefer, how are we doing today?
Doing well on this rainy day, loving the rain for our soil and the plants. So my name is Hazel, and I'm the farmer at Newhall Fields Community Farm. So I'm responsible for seeding, growing, maintaining all of our annual vegetable crops, as well as, you know, educating the community members and volunteers who come onto the farm about what we do and about how to grow food.
Thank you so much. And I am so grateful to have you guys here today. I'm so grateful to have each and every last one of you here today. Now, we're going to get right on with the show right now, okay? But first, we want to sit here and talk. We want to talk about some things with the farm, basically the history of the farm. And Miss Jeanette, I guess I'm going to start off with you. Being a subject matter expert in this field right here, I'm quite sure you will have a wealth of knowledge to be able to share with us.
Sure. Newhall Fields Community Farm started as the Tilley's Farm Education Committee when the city of Peabody took over management of the farm. They purchased the farm in 2007 and took over management of the farm in 2017. Here you see the 17-acre farm, which is 3 greenhouses, a farm stand.
We had a great event where we brought community members, city officials out to the land, and there were actually some people present that were part of the original Newhall family that had owned the farm historically, which was really, really great to see them out on the land.
That is amazing.
Welcome to Newhall Fields Community Farm. We're very proud of the impact we've had just this past growing season. We have worked with over 200 volunteers and grown 1,500 pounds of food, a majority of which has been donated to Haven from Hunger.
Just to have the community come in and feed each other, frankly. Thank you for what you're doing at the local level.
I wanted to thank either you and your family for giving the city the opportunity to purchase this property and keep it as part of our community. Mayor Bonfanti had the vision to move forward with making sure that this property was purchased through our community preservation funds.
You know, we live in a really powerful, wealthy country, yet so many people are still food insecure. So we're starting to address that locally.
My brother Earl, he really took up the mantle of the Newhall Farm and my mother's legacy.
He really did. Yeah.
The city has always had its eye on this to make it recreational, open space, educational for the community.
You're missing out if you haven't come here. Buy some great produce, and it's just wonderful supporting the community and healthy living, healthy eating, and it's just wonderful.
Now that right there was amazing. I absolutely love that, and to see everything that is being offered and how you are able to distribute it out to the community, and you're able to receive funding from the government with the vouchers being given to the senior citizens who come and participate by giving those tickets to you guys, in addition to the SNAP and other and other ways you distribute the product that you're making, which has to be a substantial amount of product to be able to not only distribute but make sales upon the sale purchases. Now this farm. Now we went over it, but let's say it one more time. Now, how many total acres are we talking about here?
Jeanette, do you want to?
The farm itself is 17 acres.
Wow.
Of city-owned land, and it has 3 greenhouses and a farm stand and a residence, and 6 acres of arable land. And it also has some woodland and a little stream on the property as well. Newhall Fields Community Farm has access to 2 acres of land that we're cultivating a 1/4 acre of right now. The city also has a pollinator garden. They have leased some land to Owls, Hives, and Honey, some beehives. And we're just very grateful to the city of Peabody for this opportunity to work with them in partnership with the city to grow food for our community. And I'll just add that partnerships is a big part of the reason why we're able to do the work that we're doing at the farm. Without our community partnerships as a nonprofit, that's where our strength comes from. And we're very grateful to organizations like the Rotary that helped fund our irrigation system and repair the well on the property. We're grateful to groups like Leap for Education and our North Shore CDC Youth Build that we work with, and having their young people come out and work with us on the farm. What other groups are we working with, Hazel?
Yeah, we are also, we have a great partnership right now with Peabody High School. So we've had some students from there coming out every Saturday.
Okay.
And, you know, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, we don't have right now any machinery. So we really rely on these groups of people and just our neighbors at the farm and volunteers who find us online or through Instagram, who show up and really do the work of making the farm happen. I mean, it's a lot of work. So all of these partnerships are appreciated for many reasons, both because they enrich us as an organization and allow us to get to know lots of different people, but also because we need as many hands as we can access. Many hands make light work, as they say, and that nowhere is that more true than on a vegetable farm.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. You guys have really told me a lot about the farm, and I'm really, really, really excited. You know, I know where I can come and get my food from until my food starts to grow. I know I can't grow as much as you are growing, but I can grow at least 1 or 2 of my favorites. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now we're here. We're at the phase where it's in. I want to know, well, what do I put in now? You since this is completely organic, am I completely right? This is.
So legally, we can't say that we're organic. Organic is actually a classification through the United States Department of Agriculture. Okay. And in order to be an organic farm, we need to be certified by the USDA, which we are not. But we do use organic practices, which means that we use no synthetic, nothing synthetic, no chemicals as inputs in our farming system. So we use organic practices. We're a sustainable, regenerative, natural farm. Yes.
Okay. So then, in my eyes, if you're doing everything organic, then you, in my book, and you would be a organic representative. Let's say. of
I
some sort.
certainly, yes, I definitely identify with the organic values and principles, and I think that they are wonderful guiding principles for agriculture.
We're having issues with, big business and big business farms and how their practices are what we would think is helping our economy and our ecosystem, but it's actually hurting the ecosystem because we're using too many GMOs. We're polluting the soils, which is bleeding into the fresh water and contaminating a lot of things. And it is putting out a lot of bad carbon into the air, which is giving us the greenhouse effect and changing the world we live around in a massive way. Now, I know that Newhall Farms is not about to give us a PhD educated hypothesis about what is going on around the world, but with our level of understanding, we do know that what you are doing is making a massive change in not only your community, but it is being shown around the world. Now, what I do know is that farms like this and many around the country has been able to sequester tens of thousands of tons of carbon out of the air because of how you're doing and the practices that you're doing. Now, the one thing I have noticed about Newhall Farm is you have one up everybody because you said you don't use any machines.
The first thing that when we talk about the problem with modern industrial agriculture in terms of our ecosystem, our biosphere, right? And one thing that you mentioned that I think is so important to realize is, yes, industrial agriculture in this country arguably does what it is set up to do, what it's supposed to do, which is it puts out product, right? And in that way, it grows the economy. But really what we're looking at in the next, 60 years is the effects of how short-sighted that goal is for an agricultural system, right? Because it doesn't treat soil as a resource that is valuable and that is crucially in need of conserving. Modern industrial agriculture has relied for the past arguably 70 years on a lot of chemical inputs and on very heavy tillage, meaning very aggressive disturbance of soil structure using heavy machinery, deep plowing. And that's really what's gotten us to the point where we are today, where we're starting to see that all of these practices can lead to what we call desertification, meaning the depletion of soil as a fertile, living, natural resource. We don't think of soil as, a mineable resource, like, for example, coal. But in a way, it is a natural resource that can be depleted in the same way that coal can be depleted. And so when we start to kind of shift how we look at soil, a lot of different things happen. The first is that we start to understand soil is alive. It's a living, breathing ecosystem in and of itself. I know a lot of people from, 7th grade, at least that's when I got 7th grade biology is when I was introduced to the food web, right? So this above ground map of who eats who, and it starts with a plant, and then the bug eats the plant, and the bird eats the bug, and then it goes up into higher predators, right? That same process is also happening underneath the soil. It's also happening below our feet all the time. And when you think about, for example, the Great Plains before they were beginning to be farmed, the reason why the Great Plains were such an incredible we call them now the breadbasket of the United States, right? The reason why that was such incredible soil is that it had thousands of years of uninterrupted life, cycles and cycles of life in that soil, making it fertile, processing organic matter, and feeding all of the fungi and bacteria that live in soil. So if you think about that above ground
predator web that you saw in biology class as a kid, you can apply that exactly the same to below ground soil life. And we call that the soil food web. The incredible thing that plants can do, and the thing that they contribute to any food web, is they can turn carbon into energy through photosynthesis. And plants are the only organisms on Earth that know how to do that, that have that ability to draw carbon from the atmosphere, convert it into energy, and then actually feed it down into the soil and exchange it with soil life for other nutrients, right? So when we talk about carbon sequestration, what we're talking about is capitalizing on this natural ability that plants have, photosynthesizing. That's so amazing. We can't do that, right? And all of us, all living organisms need carbon, and that's true on every level of that food chain, right? From big to small, small to large. So what plants can do, and what they do, is they take carbon from the atmosphere and they put it into the soil. So when we're talking about carbon sequestration, really what we're talking about is keeping soil covered at the most basic level. And that's when we get into this idea of cover cropping, or never allowing fields to lie bare, always having what we call a living root in the soil, constantly pulling that carbon from the atmosphere down into the soil.
Why do you always want to have a living root inside of the ground growing? I'm sorry to cut you off. I do apologize.
Oh, that's fine.
That's a great thought.
Yeah. So there's kind of a school of thought that refers to this as light farming. The idea is that the sun comes up every day, right? And the sun is crucial to the process of photosynthesis. So if you can keep the ground covered through every season, then you're always fixing carbon into the soil. You're never allowing a field, for example, to lay bare completely, which would mean that you were losing that opportunity for carbon sequestration. And does that make sense?
Is that dangerous for the? I mean, okay. What I mean to say is, because I'm from. Okay, so I'm originally from Virginia. Okay, and as you know, we grow everything. We grow cotton. We grow it all, right? But some years I would see that there is nothing there, but it's just an open field. Now that's what, and they just grow some grass. Okay, and then the next year they probably grow some hay. Okay, that'll grow up next. And then they'll start the edible farms for human consumption. And that'll go on for a couple of years. Now, you're saying that time period that they are growing nothing there should be a time that they should be growing something with a deeper root, so that the sequestration, even if it's a crop.
Right. So the principle of cover cropping, the first jumping off point, is that you always want to have the soil covered with something that's growing, right? Okay. In that way, you're pulling carbon from the atmosphere. And it's, at Newhall Fields Community Farm, obviously we're a very small farm, okay? So what we're doing is providing a model of how this carbon sequestration can be integrated into a system and prioritized in a system. But when we start to look at the potential of this idea, what we're really talking about is, in this country, the Midwest, California, huge farms, hundreds and hundreds of acres of land, that if they were to be, if a system like this were to be implemented on those farms, the impact could be really incredible for the climate, right? So we're talking about reversing this process of desertification that is currently happening, and starting. We're seeing there are a ton of other benefits of cover cropping as well, which farmers are starting to kind of come to understand. But when we talk about reversing the effects of climate change, this has incredible potential. Just keeping soil covered in living plants has an incredible potential to start to shift the timeline.
Okay, and getting that knowledge out, but of course is something that is amazing. That is amazing. we have found out exactly how these farms operate, where we should be at as far as always maintaining some form of a crop. Now, based off of this is just a crazy question, maybe an off topic, but do you know, like in your years of doing this right here, which crops do you believe will be great crops that will bring in maximum sequestration as far as, or is there a difference, or does it even matter?
That's a really interesting question, Timothy.
I think it's the diversity of crops that makes the real difference, because a lot of industrial agriculture is a monoculture crops, the biodiversity of the ecosystem. And it's that diversity of crops that attracts the diversity of pollinators and microorganisms and wildlife that makes the whole system flourish. So it's the idea of working with nature and watching those cycles of nature, and having the blooming throughout the season, that creates that opportunity for the soil health to improve. This is a process that's widely discussed and widely used in our area on a lot of our small community-based farms. We've learned a lot from those farms in the area, both in terms of engaging volunteers and running educational programming and distribution of food. It's been a wonderful collaborative relationship. And one of the things your viewers saw in Kiss the Ground was the support that the farmers are receiving from the NRCS. And we also have been working with our conservation planner here locally. And it's been extremely helpful in terms of helping us with some funding for this cover crop plan, and through some grants. And also through this process, we're meeting something called resource concerns by being a sustainable farm and stewarding the land. And we also get some that works into our management plan that Hazel has been discussing. As you can imagine, as a nonprofit farm that's growing food with volunteers and donating 80% of our food, that the revenue does not come from the food we grow. So we have to seek out other sources to fund this project, which mostly comes from the community and the NRCS and local grants and things like that.
Now, that was great and amazing. Thank you so much. That right there was something that I did not know at first. Okay, and knowing that now, moving forward, now I have to come to your farm, and now you have to give me some seeds, and we're going to start off, and now I'm going to buy your food, and I'm going to really promote it, because I think people need to know that if food tastes this great and it has no chemical GMOs in it, we need to all be trying to do this. Even if it's in your backyard, you're going to learn something from Newhall Gardens, okay? And I'm telling you, this is a farm that is not only giving you food that's great, but also teaching you something for a lifetime. And my mom and dad always said, if you give a person an apple, they will eat for a day. But if you teach them how to farm, they will eat for a lifetime. That is what Newhall Farm is doing for us today, people, okay? So I want to thank you, not only you, I would like to thank Mrs. Jeanette. Mrs. Jeanette, this right here was an amazing interview conversation, and we got to get to know each other on not only a professional level, but an ecological level and on a personal level. We now know each other more than when we knew each other when we first met each other. And that's how I believe it works right here at Newhall Farm.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to kind of reflect on how the farm is participating in the fight against climate change. I think that it's so important obviously we're a very small farm, and we cover not very many acres of this green earth, but I think it's really the powerful thing about our farm is that we do exist in a city, and we are a place where people can come and be at peace and work, and get satisfaction from that work, give back to their community, and really learn about how there is another food system possible that exists outside of global industrial chemical food. And so I thank you for the opportunity, Timothy, to come and talk about that.
And I want to thank you for the opportunity to even have this conversation. And like I said, I know we didn't get the chance to cover everything, but you really can't cover a lot in an hour, okay?
And we could talk about this stuff for like a week, and there would still be more to talk about.
There still would be more. And with that being said, and I'm hoping that there will be more, okay? Miss Hazel and Miss Jeanette, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Mrs. Jeanette, would you like to have some ending remarks that we can add to this right here?
Sure, yeah. So we're, like Hazel said, we're just very grateful to be here. Thank you for having us. And, you know, at Newhall Fields, as you were saying, everyone can learn the basics of farming. We'd love to have people come out and plant seeds and harvest crops, and eat the delicious food that they've grown themselves. Hazel does an amazing job. We're growing nourishing food for our community. And if there's ever a time when kids and families will thrive, it's coming out to the farm and enjoying the nature, the outdoors, and eating healthier food. So thanks for having us here to talk about what's happening at Newhall Fields Community Farm, where we're practicing regenerative organic agriculture, where we're a volunteer-powered farm, and also enjoying the great outdoors.
And I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this great conversation with you as well. This was great. And I look forward to the many people who are going to see this, not only during the chat on Hall TV 2, but I hope it's going to be distributed around the world. Now, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I want to thank each and every one of you who are out here in the world who will be seeing this, broadcast. Go check out Newhall Farm, and please check them out. Here is their link. Here's their webpage right here. Here is where you can find all the information and more information to follow on any upcoming events that may be coming up with the farm, and anything that may be pertaining to the farm. I hope I'm correct when I say this. So please check them out. And come by and visit them and get this wealth of knowledge that is right out here for you guys. And we're going to end it right here. And I want to thank you guys for coming out. And I hope that we can do this again. Thank you, and thank you.